that's so little. That's a little spike.
That's what you want.
Got me.
That's the part that's going to go on the front. All right. Back. This is John.
Hey, it's Paul.
And it's Eric.
As What If Geeks, and we are going to finally review The Rise of SkyWalker.
Finally, it's been 10 days.
I know. We've been talking about it. We thought we were going to put it off for another week, but Eric and his OCD kicked in, and we got last night it was all four of us with Ray in our text. Okay, we'll push off because Ray and Eric hadn't seen it, so we'll just wait. Then like 20, I don't know, half an hour before you guys show up, we get the message from Eric in our group text. Okay, I saw it and I wrote a
Yeah.
I
made an outline
Not
while
only
the movie
did I
was
see
going.
it, but I fucking wrote an outline for a review. Should I just send it to the three of us? And I'm like, and I respond with, yeah, Ray, show up around like 6:30, 7 o'clock, whatever. So we will get a timely review out. So let's get into it. Fuck it.
All right, so quick overview. This came out on December 20th. I think that was 10 days ago, something like that. It is the final chapter of the sequel trilogy. It's supposed to bring closure to the entire Skywalker saga, the nonology, if you will. The end of the family, I guess.
The saga.
Yeah.
We'll call it the saga.
This was directed by J.J. Abrams, who, of course, also did The Force Awakens, but he didn't do TLJ, which I'm sure everybody knows was Ryan Johnson.
We know.
The runtime ended up being 2 hours 22. It was supposed to originally be a little over 2.5, and I'm really curious what they cut at that last, because that was only announced maybe a month before it dropped that he was cutting some more out of it, and they had reduced the runtime. So I'm curious what they cut, because it might have been useful, to be honest. As far as box office goes, they had projected somewhere in the range of 160 to 200 million. It ended up at 176, so I guess that's pretty well on track.
Right in the middle.
It is, of course, below TLJ, and it is even further below The Force Awakens.
Right. But now following up Last Jedi, makes sense.
Well, it may end up making more. I don't know. So the opening weekend.
Well, what I read was
it's just one piece.
It was closer. Or it was doing
well,
better.
it's starting to come back up. Yeah, I think I don't remember if I think I looked yesterday or the day before, and it was really close to The Last Jedi at the same point after release. It was really close. So who knows? Right. It's definitely going to break $1 billion. I think it's already at 725 million yesterday.
Oh yeah, no, this thing is going.
I mean, it's not to say it's unsuccessful. It's just the projections were relatively low, and they hit the middle. But to be fair, that's happened with the previous films. The subsequent releases have always been a little less, except for Revenge of the Sith. I think that one ended up higher than the second. But in
like
general, none of them do as well as the first. So
no, they never do. And then with all the divisiveness, which is what we always said caused Solo.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So I was kind of expecting this. So all right.
So no spoilers. General impressions on this.
I liked it. There were, when we do the spoiler part, we'll get into the individual issues that you may have with it. Overall, I thought it was good. I thought they stick to the landing. I loved how the ending sort of wraps everything together, which we'll talk about in the spoilers. But there's some parts where you're like, don't know.
Yeah.
But there were some definite like jaw drop, like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
I would look, if you're a Star Wars person, you've probably already seen it or are about to go see it. If you're not, you got to start right at the beginning. You got to start with the original three, go prequel trilogies, and then these three. So
we've done the whole machete cut where you can kind of bounce around in that sequence and get what you need.
I think the cut scenes for me, usually in Star Wars, when they cut from scene to scene, there's some kind of
white
smoother, like a screen white. smooth transition like that. As
Like that.
you knock the microphone over. That was very Rise of Skywalker. It's like an abrupt knock it over. It was very jump cut. Sometimes it was jarring. Like, well, okay, we're at a new thing.
Yeah. And we can get into that in the spoiler shit because it's kind of part of what I was going to say.
Luckily, there aren't a million cuts where
Right.
you at least, with a couple exceptions, spent some time on a scene, so you had a minute to sort of refocus and be like, oh yeah, that's where it's at.
What about you? General.
Surprisingly, I liked it, and in the spoilers, I'm going to complain about several things. I mean, it's kind of nitpicking. I think it's sort of it's a J.J. Abrams making this movie, I think is what it really is, and not quite sticking to the original intent of Star Wars,
Right, yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, he had to, at least in my opinion, make up for everything that was really, really wrong in The Last Jedi, which you both know I didn't like at all.
Yeah.
I watched it for a third time, and then I'm like, you know what? I can't like this movie. I want to, but I just can't. So, from that perspective, it got much better. It's definitely a good closing. I'm not unhappy with it at all. I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10, but it's still worth seeing for sure.
Yeah.
And it will fix, for me anyway, it fixed that so lull I got from The Last Jedi, where I was like, I don't even want to see this movie.
Right.
I was wrong.
Is that you thumping?
Maybe.
Quit jerking off under the table.
I'm excited about talking about this movie.
They want the spots. All right. Almost a record. All right. I'll keep it really short, brief, but I'm going to keep it shrief. Shrief. What I mentioned before we went in to see it, I said after everything going on between Force Awakens and Last Jedi, I was hoping that it could do... I was looking for epic before Last Jedi, and then I was hoping for good or great. And I think I hit good or great in this one, and that's how I'll leave it going into our spoilers.
All right. If that's that, then we'll get started. So, spoiler alert, if you have not seen the movie, you probably want to cut this off and wait.
Right. Real quick, nobody else hears that, right? That thumping?
I hear no thumping.
It's the fan.
Is it the fan?
I think it's the fan blowing into my phone.
Well, you don't get no hot cooler anymore. Is that what it is? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Fuck you. You don't get any cold. I was trying to cool you off. You're right, bastard. That's what happens when I moved it closer because I moved that chair out of the way. All right. Now I figured it out. Because I'm hearing this like... I was like, what the fuck is that noise? Okay.
All right. So,
we'll pretend to edit that out later.
Yeah.
Eric.
Jumping into this. I'm not going to do a lot of editing because that was actually a pain in the ass.
I told you it was a real pain in the ass.
We'll try that. We'll try to be less misogynistic in this one than we were in the one where we talked about Mando Chapter 7.
Yeah, if you'd heard any of the Mando, Lord, I apologize for Eric bringing his family over here, breaking the podcast.
All right, so getting into spoilers then. So movie starts out, the opening scene we saw in the trailer, it was Kylo and the Knights of Ren fighting in the woods. We don't know what the fuck they're doing. We find out he's getting this Sith holocron, which is actually called a Sith Wayfinder in the movie, I guess. And that's supposed to give him the location to...
One other podcast I saw said that was Mustafar. But Mustafar is a lava planet, unless they're trying to say that from
when they
we saw it.
When they flew in, it really did look like Mustafar.
Right?
But then when they're on the surface, no.
Right? Yeah.
There were trees. There's no fucking trees on Mustafar.
I mean, unless... No, there were no trees.
There's also, as far as I know, no inhabitants on that planet, and it seemed like whatever they were fighting was like the same race of weird-looking creatures with the funny hats. And
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what they were. I don't... Unless I missed it, they never explained.
No, somebody specifically said it was Mustafar, and I was like, really? Again, we'd have to go deeper into our, what do you call it?
Why would he be fighting somebody on Mustafar? I mean, Mustafar was where Vader...
he was looking for that specific holocron. So maybe,
I mean, it would make sense for it to be there, I guess. That's where Vader's
why would they
fortress
attack
was.
him when...
But if he's going there, it's a friendly planet, right?
Right? Yeah, you would think so. I mean,
maybe not. I don't know.
Hi, I'm here. My grandfather lived here.
Right.
I don't know. Whatever.
Anyway, the point is he gets the Wayfinder, and that sends him off to is it Exegol or Exegol? Exegol.
You know,
it's like I wasn't just there.
Yeah.
What's interesting
It'll clear
in this
up your hemorrhoids.
is this there's not a lot of like we start right away with the MacGuffin stuff. Like there's not a lot of build up in terms of story. Like,
really
right away,
is.
like
and I was actually
we're
surprised
here and
by
we're
that.
starting this whole thing. Yeah, there's not a lot of like build up stuff. There's no like
there's no
hey, remember what happened?
No exposition whatsoever.
Right.
There's just
we're just starting.
We're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you had asked me, I would have assumed that the trip to Exegol, God damn, I'm going to get this in a minute. Would have been like the end of the movie
right
kind of thing, right? But that's where they start, basically.
Yeah, and you know, I guess it could just bear to be said right now. There's a lot of this because we're on spoilers. There's a lot of this in the very beginning here that it was. Boom, we're here. Boom, we're here. Boom, we're here. And okay, problem. Okay, solved. Done. Boom, boom, boom.
It
boom,
does
boom.
move really
a lot
quickly.
of that really quick. And overall, and I'm sure I'll repeat it again at some point. What I think the reason for that, I think, is there was a lot of JJ trying to set up and fix certain things that have gone on, and set up the story so that he could hit that pace.
Mm-hmm. Where
we had mentioned at one point, could they maybe stretch this into a chapter 10, and I think they could have. I think, and we can visit that at the end.
They wouldn't have had 3 neat trilogies, but that's exactly
just,
why I said
I
wondering
literally sat there for the first like maybe half an hour of this movie, going like feeling panicked, like what the fuck is going on? Like you know, like you know what I mean? Like I couldn't get relaxed in the movie until about almost the first act was done. I was like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, we've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there was a lot of shit that went on. So.
And that's why I said at the beginning, it might have benefited from those extra minutes that they cut. I kind of want to know what it is.
So again, thanks, RJ.
It could have been 3-4 hours, honestly, to tell that big story.
You
and then you would have actually
too.
had some time for build-up because it was a lot of introduce the issue. Within 10 minutes, it's solved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gave me 3 hours of Avengers. You're ending the Skywalker saga. We've said it before. You could have given me 3 hours of this shit, and I would have sat there. You didn't have to do that rush thing that they did. So, that's one negative. But go ahead.
All right, so
Sorry.
Kylo goes into the Sith, I don't know what the hell to call that thing, temple?
Sure.
Yeah.
He goes in there, and you hear the voice of the Emperor, of course, right away, right?
Yeah.
And he's every voice you've ever heard,
every
and then
voice you've ever
inside your
heard,
head is Vader's voice. Like, so he wasn't actually hearing.
He wasn't hearing his
Vader
grandfather,
before.
right?
Yeah, it was all part of the ploy, I guess. And then
And
he
he was
repeats a
Snoke.
line that he said. I think it was in the prequel trilogy, where he says the dark side is a path to many things people would consider unnatural.
Right.
When he's talking about how the hell are you alive or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought that
But
was
he
a cool
says
little
he's
throwback,
Snoke,
but-
too.
Yeah.
And he said, so he said I was Vader, Snoke, me.
Yeah.
And then you see, as he comes in through as he's going to try to find the holocron, you see the vat with all the Snokes in it, which I kind of found pretty cool. I was like, okay, that explains. All right. Again, if you were gonna like knock out one of my theories for Snoke, that was at least a nice way to do it. I'm
Right.
like, all right, I get it. Kind of, he was using these bodies repeatedly over and over again.
Yep.
It tied it in nice to the clone thing from the
Yeah,
prequel trilogy.
and there's a couple more references to it on
Yeah.
here because I saw people complaining online, like, well, they never really explained how the Emperor survived and how he ended up back here. Like, they didn't bother. I think they did, but it was really blink and you'll miss it kind of stuff because it's just a little bit of commentary
quick.
and scenes that lasted 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was quick, but you gotta pay attention. You gotta at least kind of be able to put together the whole saga to kind of figure it out. I mean, it based itself on the clone shit, so you're good there.
And he's hanging from the Pet Boys auto rack thing, being fed by tubes and whatever. Like, he can't leave that because even as he later in the movie, as he moved, like the whole arm
The
thing,
whole
the
arm,
whole
yeah.
thing has to go with it.
Yeah, I think I later in the notes I dubbed that Palpatine on a stick.
Yeah.
Emperor Pontiac.
On a stick.
On a stick, man.
Oh
Okay.
god, that's
So,
not gonna go away, is it?
No.
Emperor on a stick.
So Palpatine says he can give Kylo everything, right? And then all of a sudden we see Star Destroyer break through the ice or whatever, and it's popping. And then there's like thousands of them. Now, I didn't put a little marker on here, but I take an issue at this because from what I can remember, it takes something like 20,000 people to pilot a Star Destroyer or to operate where they were just all sitting under the ice, like literally like tens of millions of people in these thousands of Star Destroyers?
Yeah, but if they're droids and clones,
Maybe.
Created by magic.
yeah.
I mean, they were magic.
Just stand the fuck by.
Yeah, they were created by magic.
Yeah.
I mean, so
There
they just effectively
there
lived
is
in
a
those
good
things
amount
until
of,
Kylo showed up. For 30 years, they were just
pretty
like,
much. Yeah,
okay,
there's a good
we're cool with
acceptance.
this.
There's a good amount of acceptance of the yanking out of JJ's ass of some of this stuff.
Right? Didn't
Because
I hear that? All those Star Destroyers were made by magic, right? Sith magic, right? They weren't like there wasn't an assembly plant on Exegol underneath the ice cranking these things out.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I heard
I think
that.
I missed that part, but
That's what I thought I heard.
Though.
I have
see if
no
anyone's
idea.
written about it.
Honestly,
Yeah, you look it up all week.
I mean, it's a big galaxy.
It
but
was a
having to
gigantic fucking
build that
fleet.
many fucking
Yeah.
things. I mean, it is.
But you need like
massive.
a
And how
giant
big is
Lockheed,
Exegol?
like a giant Northrop Grumman Lockheed Martin under there,
Yeah.
cranking out 2,000 Star Destroyers.
Bizarre. We'll figure that out in a minute. So they cut to the Falcon next. Poe and Finn. I forget who else is on the Falcon at that point. Chewie. Is Rey on there? No, she's not. She's training.
No, just
So,
they're going
anyway,
to meet up with her.
Handful on the Falcon.
Yeah, Poe, Finn, Chewie.
They're running from TIE fighters.
R2.
Right.
Yeah,
This little thing.
they're running through the tunnels. They're
Yeah.
flying through the tunnels or whatever.
This little thing bugged the shit out of me because Poe starts doing this light speed skipping, right? Where he like goes into light speed for a second.
Well,
and
wait,
then
don't go back to
What?
the dude that they talked to because they're there for a reason. They're getting a location for one of these Wayfinder things.
Oh yeah,
right. And they say, "Oh, how can we ever repay you?" And he's like, "Win the war or whatever."
yeah.
Side note: the dude, I forget his name, Batu, some shit, whatever. That was close. The guy that's standing there with the big fucking head, when he hands him the shit, right? You know who does the voice?
No.
Mark Hamill.
Oh no shit.
Yep.
I did
Wait,
not
he was the
know
voice of what?
The guy that hands him the shit in the Falcon.
that. The spy.
The spy.
The spy
Oh,
guy
right.
that gives him
Yeah.
the-
Well,
Yeah.
The guy that's like handing him and he's saying, "Go, how do we ever repay you?" He's like, "Win the war."
Yeah.
That's Mark Hamill.
I saw a thing today on Facebook that said Hamill had another part in that, but I didn't.
That was him,
I didn't
yeah.
click the link.
Later, you'll see his head thrown across the table. But
So anyway, the TIE fighters come in. They're trying to escape, right? Yeah, first beheading, I think, in all of Star Wars. We've had behandings to death, but not beheadings.
we're up in the ante a little bit.
So he starts doing this light speed skipping thing, though. This bugs me for two reasons. One, every time he skips, he doesn't end up like in random space somewhere. He ends up like in the middle of a planet, like flying around some
Well,
you know,
technically,
obstacles
wouldn't
or
that
something.
be in the middle of space?
The other thing that bugs the shit out of me
Planets are in the middle of space.
is the TIE fighters are fucking following him. Now, they already established
was-
in TLJ, well, and everything else, I guess, because it never happened. Once you go into light speed, nobody can follow you except for when they did that
They
tracking
have that
thing.
homing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they could follow you. And everybody was like, oh my god, how'd they follow us? Now, he is light speed skipping over and over, and TIE fighters, which we've never seen go to light speed,
Right.
Which,
are now following him.
from the original movie, remember? That lone fighter shouldn't be out here by himself like
Yeah.
that. You know, there's no way he can get
Yeah.
this far out into space.
Yes.
And that's no moon.
So
You know, okay.
that's my complaint number one. I think they broke some canon rules there with the light speed skipping and the TIEs following him through it the whole time. Anyway, we go to this forest planet. I could never actually figured out what the forest
Mr.
planet...
Favreau, if you're listening, can you fix some of this shit?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I never actually figured out what the jungle planet was. Do you guys? Was it Yavin?
No. Sure.
I'm not sure
I
what
don't
it was.
fucking know what
The
it
one
was.
where the rebel base was, where she's training. I don't know what the hell planet that was.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't think they ever said, but maybe I missed it. So Rey's doing training on that planet, and we find out very quickly that Leia is actually her Jedi master, if you
Yep.
will. So, you know, they drop it that Princess Leia has trained, but you'll find out later that she gives it up quickly because she realizes what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So this was a part where Dominique Monaghan, the guy that was in Lost, he's
Yeah,
British,
right.
he mentions in there when they say how is Palpatine back, he mumbles some shit about cloning and something, you know.
Yeah, just kind of how I
sketchy,
fix every argument.
sketchy
in my
Sith
own,
technology, and it was just like it was kind of hand waving it, but at the same time that was again sort of building on the how did Palpatine come back? Oh well, you know, he's got some magic shit going on with a bunch of clones.
Paul, you can give it up.
I thought that's what I heard was him say, using Sith magic that
Sure.
essentially they built it. But I'm sure someone out there right now is freaking out like, no, dummy, that's not what happened.
So
Wouldn't be the first time in this fucking
Would not
podcast.
Wouldn't be the first time
It's okay,
today.
we're still getting
Wouldn't be
hate
the first time today.
Yeah, we're getting this hate mail from the last one. Don't worry about it.
so
That'll be the one time somebody writes into this fucking thing. Misogynist bastard.
That's right.
Oh my god.
So Rey decides she has to
And
find
you're right.
Exegol too, right? That's,
Rule 30, what is it? Rule 39?
Rule 34.
34.
Rule 69.
Rule 69.
That's the geeks. That's the geeks rule. We'll throw sex in everything.
So she's got to find Exegol,
Planet
and
Exegol.
she comes across this because she finds something about this Sith Wayfinder stuff in Luke's text that she took. So, I guess there we go. Again, this is one of those like very quick,
Yeah.
Oh, how is Rey ever going to figure out she's? Oh, don't worry, Luke wrote it down in this book.
Yeah. But no one else thought to look in the book.
Yeah.
So it cuts again to Knights of Ren scene. This one made me laugh. There is a straight up chimp fixing his helmet.
Uh-huh.
I really thought that was like Planet of the Apes. I was like, what the fuck? Caesar's here. What the fuck happened?
Yeah, and by the time he's done, it looks like a chimp fixed his fucking helmet. Which I don't get. Like, why didn't they just make a new one? They can fabricate anything.
I don't know.
I think we talked about this when one of the first trailers dropped. It's that Japanese art of repairing something with gold, right? So you break a vase and you repair it with gold, and so it's worth a little bit more than it was at the beginning. I forget what that's called.
I don't know. The helmet wasn't worth shit.
No.
The thing was fucked up.
Yeah, but now the red.
But now the red, yeah.
The unobtainium.
Yeah.
Is fucking. We're gonna throw everything into this bitch. We got Planet of the Apes. We got Avatar.
Advanced
fuck it.
phlebotomy. I guess it looked more menacing, and
But it was fucked up was the problem. It was like divoted. The seams weren't right, and the eyepieces weren't
Okay,
like,
yeah, well, it was fixed by a chimp.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly my point. And then when he goes into
You would have thought he would have had one of the other Knights of Ren fix it.
Yeah, when he goes into the war room, I would have thought they would have him fix his own helmet. That would have been like more symbolic than
That's what I
getting a
thought was
fucking
gonna
chimp
happen,
to do it. I feel like that him and the Knights of Ren got drunk one night. He's like, "Hey, you guys think a chimp could fix this? I'm gonna show you."
this is so easy a chimp could fix it. No way. All right, you're on.
And that's why they were all standing around watching the chimp fix it. It was a bet. And so then he walks into the war room or whatever with all the generals, right? And one of them says something, or they don't say anything. They're just looking at him, and he's like, "I sense someone has a problem with my new look." Like, yeah, you look like a freaking retard, man.
You look like a chimp fix your helmet.
Exactly. But anyway, he does
A band name in college.
just because we had
Chimp fix your helmet.
yeah, chimp fixed your helmet. We had to have an epic force choke moment, and oh my god,
Oh,
did
it
they
was
not
good.
take that? Like, it started as a force choke, and then all of a sudden, the guy's on the ceiling being choked out. Like, okay.
Choke me, daddy.
That's the wrong way to do it. Man, I felt for that guy. So next we cut to back to Desert Planet. What desert planet was that? I don't remember what the name was, but they did provide a name. I just can't.
I don't remember.
Can't recall.
But they're having essentially
it is a new desert planet. 'Cause
outer
we need
space Burning
another
Man.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're at Burning Man.
Yep, and there's some strange creatures there. I also don't remember their name. But they get one of those force link moments between Rey and Kylo while they're on that planet.
Yep.
And for some reason, she can always see where he is, but he can't see where she is or something. But in this one, he reaches out and right at the end and grabs for the necklace.
Snatches the beads off her.
Yeah, snatches them through the force link.
And that's new.
Which is definitely new.
Yeah.
And it becomes a theme in this movie, actually. There's multiple times this happens. Well, in fact, we'll get there in a second, or in several minutes. But yeah, so he stashes the beads. I guess that's how he realizes where she's at.
Because he has them.
Because he knows.
He hands them to someone to figure out where these are from.
Yeah. So, in any case, Lando shows up, but the Imps know they're there. They somehow get there in 30 seconds. It was really short. And they're getting chased by these troopers that look different new, and these are these rocket jump troopers.
Yep.
That whole scene, that chase and everything, it felt like a Mad Max movie to me.
Yep.
It was like done. I mean, everything about it with the way the vehicles were sort of like really old school looking and mechanical, and they're like
they're catapults, right?
They catapult the guys up into the air because I guess the rocket pack isn't strong enough to shoot them up. I don't
They
know.
can fly, they just can't take off. Like once you get going, this is enough propulsion
Must be
to move you.
At 20 miles an hour before you turn this on.
Right.
Oh, okay. That was interesting, but I didn't dislike it. It was a.
And that's when we get the they fly now.
Yeah. Which of course, I mean, these guys should have seen flying troopers.
The internet
before,
had a problem with it.
Yeah,
the internet has a problem with everything.
Well, what I was saying to Paul is it felt very Mad Max. It felt like it was a different movie almost for a few minutes.
I'd agree with you.
This was also those skiffs where those scenes are in the trailers that I thought would last. That whole thing would last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
And the trailer showed you everything. You know what? That was a comment I meant to say at the beginning, but
that's what she said.
With the no. The trailer show you everything because we had 6 like full trailers plus some sneak peeks, and then 35 I think was the number of TV spots. And I tried to watch them all. It was
straight ridiculous.
And I felt like, having seen them all, I felt like, oh shit, I really saw half this movie already. It's crazy. And I understand when they did the TV spots, they would take an old one and they would just add like 2 seconds of new footage into it. But after you watch them, I'm like, damn, there was really only a few things where I felt really surprised. And it's not because they didn't, write something surprising. It's because I saw all this shit in the trailers, right? So anyway, they get through the combat. They beat those guys, and they end up in these weird sinking fields. It's like quicksand made of little funky rocks,
Artax.
And then you apparently fall into a tunnel, but the rocks that you sunk through do not fall with you. You just go. Yeah. Interesting.
It was in the script. Yeah,
it was in the script. So they do cut. I don't know why this was funny to me, but it was one of the few times I actually got a laugh out of me. But they cut back to the Rebel base real quick, and the guy that plays Snap Wexley, Greg Grunberg, is talking to Leia.
We are halfway through, by the way.
Already?
Halfway through Rise. We're not. So
Rise of Skywalker.
Plug your ears.
Oh, crap. Oh, well.
Plug your ears.
So, where was I? I forgot. Oh, yeah. So Snap Wexley is talking to Leia, and they say, "Oh, we can't get a hold of the." Yeah,
go there.
We can't get a hold.
Ray just walked in, and we made him plug his ears like a fucking 10-year-old.
We can't get a hold of the Millennium Falcon or whatever. He's like, it's really dire, blah blah blah. And then she's like, "Don't have that attitude." And then he just flips all of a sudden. He's like, "Oh, everything's gonna be great, ma'am. This is perfect." I don't know why they did that for a little comedy relief, but it was actually one of the few things they did.
It made me laugh.
I sort of giggled, like, "Oh yeah, that's about right." So anyway, back to the desert planet. The guy they were searching for his ship, he's clearly dead in the bottom of the tunnels, but she finds the knife down there, which apparently has a inscription on it that tells you how to find the Wayfinder, which is going to become another complaint of mine, but I'll wait till we get there. C-3PO, of course, can't translate it because he's forbidden from translating Sith, but he knows what it says.
Yeah.
He just can't tell
you.
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like the nanny boo boo moment of the movie. Like, yeah, no, I know.
All right, so
I could tell you.
Talking for a minute about talking for a minute about shit they could have cut. This weird worm snake creature that's in the fucking tunnels.
Yeah.
And it comes out, and there's this whole. It lasts like 2 minutes of them looking at each other. Are we going to shoot it? Blah blah blah. And then she realizes it's injured and does the force
injured
heal.
Or do the force heal.
Yeah.
So all it was to establish that
she could force heal. Why not just do it when it was time? I mean,
I don't know.
You don't gain anything by her doing it with this worm.
Right.
It's really weird to me.
But she could have force healed one of them.
Yeah.
Finn or Poe or something.
Quickly, someone got shot.
Yeah.
Oh, I force healed you. Yeah. It was a whole. Yeah. So let's speed through them a little bit more since Ray's here. I don't want him to just kind of.
Okay, so Chewie gets captured while they're on this planet. The TIE fighter comes in. Rey is standing outside. She's waiting for it. The TIE Whisperer, and we get to see that scene from the trailer, and we actually get to see the connection. And she cuts the wing off, and the thing goes crashing.
That was cool.
And explodes. And Kylo comes out without even a singed hair. I guess that's more of his force power. I don't know. And then they start this fight over
force field.
Yeah, force field. Yeah, they start this fight over the transport that she thinks Chewie is on. And then there's a fight, and then she somehow accidentally force lightens.
She gets so pissed off. Yeah, she gets mad, and she shoots lightning out of her hand. that's the point where I knew we were going. I
So
was like, oh, damn it. So
before the movie, when we were talking about this weeks ago, I said that I was prepared for a hero, someone we've come to know all this time, to die. And so when that happened, I wasn't even thinking, this is really early in the movie. Are we going to do this to Chewie? That's probably not the ship. I thought, oh shit, they did it early. Like, I was like, well, I'm right. We lost Chewie. And then there's like, oh, that wasn't his ship. I'm like, I should have known that.
Heather turned to me with panic in her eyes and went, she just killed Chewie? And I was like, like, because I knew there was something's going to happen. You know, I was like, something's got to happen here. Because it was like, this is weird. But the lightning thing was like, okay, that was the tip of the hat. Like, okay, I get it.
But this also bothered me immensely, just because later they established that she can easily sense where people are, and she knows Chewie is on a fucking Star Destroyer, you know, way off away. Oh, I can sense Chewie on there.
Right.
Well, you didn't sense that you didn't fucking blow him up?
Right, you didn't realize.
Well, you know, in the heat of battle, you know, I'm sure.
What bothers me even more about that is when she goes back to the ship and everybody's like, oh, it's okay, it's not your fault, it's Kylo's fault. And they're just like, all right, let's move on. We're going to do this for Chewie.
You literally shot fucking lightning out of your hand and killed this poor bastard.
But if we don't keep going, then Chewie's death was for nothing.
Yeah. It was.
There was a lot of that.
It was a little bit of, well, it was forced. It was weird. And I was like, did you even have to do that? Did you have to think Chewie was dead? Why not just let him run off with Chewie and let it be that, and they got to go find him later. Again, I mean, something I felt like you could cut. It wasn't worth it. I know they needed to show her do Force lightning, but she could have done it on Kylo. I don't know. I mean, anything. She could have just done it on a trooper. I don't know.
Yeah. Just looked at her hand like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Baby Yoda style. Did I just do that?
We'll get into that later.
Yeah, so they head off to Kijimi because they got to find this droid smith that's going to help them switch C-3PO to let him translate, right? Just side note here, what the fuck was that DO droid for?
Because now even a droid needs a droid.
Yeah, I mean, like,
it's a pet. Yeah.
It's like BB-8 wasn't R2 enough, so they just had to throw in a second one to try to service everybody.
It's literally just a wheel and a cone.
Yeah.
With a synthesized voice, too, which is really bizarre because that's not normal for any tiny robot in Star Wars universe to have.
Yeah, why doesn't it speak like in beeps and whistles like BB-8 and R2-D2?
Sad.
Right.
What?
Or it backs up and says, no, thank you.
No, yeah.
Apparently, it's a motorized Teletubby.
with personal space issues, because every time someone gets near it, it backs up. Like,
no, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. It's got very good manners, though.
Yeah.
All right.
So when they get to Kijimi, we meet Zori Bliss for the first time. She looks like a freaking Power Ranger to me.
She does.
True.
Like the gold Power Ranger. She drops it that Poe was a spice runner before. Hello, Han Solo. Like, do you really have to steal that little piece? Could he have done something else? Could he have hijacked ships? I don't know.
You could have been a pirate.
Something. The spice runner.
I mean, technically, they're all pirates like that. Good.
Yeah, so the Knights of Ren are running around. They realize they're there. Kylo's destroyer arrives onto the planet. And then Rey senses that Chewie is on that damn Star Destroyer. And they're like, oh, we're going to get up there. And it was like the most painful thing to watch. Like, oh, I have this captain's weird emblem. It'll get you on any ship. You don't even have to do anything. And they're like, oh, fuck, we're just going to fly up there. And nobody's going to notice us flying in, even though they always notice ships approaching, even when they're coming in from light speed 5 minutes before they get there. And they just go land in the bay, and there's not even
there's a
anybody
ship
there.
coming in from hyperspace.
Right.
No, not this one.
No, this one just rolls on. A piece of shit looking non-first order ship rolls up on
They
there.
detected a piece of metal that looks like one of their... All right, God.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, so we see that Rey has mastered the Jedi mind trick when they get on there, and she just totally... I mean, she's done it once before in Force Awakens, but this was like way over the top. Yeah. Oh, it's okay that we're here. No, you're actually happy we're here. Hey, help us find this. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. It was a little bit crazy, but she now senses the dagger is on the ship somehow. Not people anymore, but now she can sense daggers too. I guess because it's a special artifact, maybe? I don't know.
Sure.
But for some reason, Kylo can't sense a goddamn thing, and he's still down on the planet hunting around for her. Like, I wonder where she is. And of course, he doesn't try to make a connection with her during this time he's searching around for her, even though he does it anywhere
They're
else.
just going door to door like, is she here? No. Is she here? No. Is she here?
No.
So
we've established this last movie that I can just connect to you whenever the fuck I want.
Right.
So on this gigantic Star Destroyer, Rey somehow finds his
quarters
in like
of
a hot
course
second.
she does.
And there's a Vader mask
Of
in
course
there
she does.
and the dagger. Because I guess she sensed the dagger. That's how she found it. So then they have the Force connection again, and I think that's the point where they're
when they
fighting,
fight. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Their lightsabers are
Yeah.
going through the Force connection.
Yep.
Yeah, now mind you, well, it's spoilers, so you should be here, or you should have seen the movie if you're listening to this, but let's just point out the fact that they are not physically in the same room.
Right.
They started touching on this a little bit with Last Jedi, right, where they he
Tries to reach his hand
was trying
out,
to reach
yeah.
to her, and it was wet because
Yeah.
she was
Yep.
in like a waterfall or whatever. So they're creeping into, okay, now this is new territory for the Force, right? So now they're physically seeing each other and fighting each other.
Well, we talked when you grabbed a drink that he snatches the party beads off of her.
I pissed.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
He snatches the party beads off her when she was at Burning Man, and he's like, "Here, go have these tested." And so that's the first time
As
that
you
they
should do it any Burning Man.
yeah, when they're at Outer Space Burning Man. And so now they take that one step further. Instead of beads, now they have a fight.
Now they're fucking fighting each other, which, on one hand, there was a part of me that was going, the fuck is going on? And at the other hand, the writing was just good enough for me to be like, all right, fuck it, we're in.
The way they
I'm-
filmed it worked really well. That was believable. That they were in two different places and then somehow
Yeah, like
Connecting
still
on a
connecting on
physical level kind of thing.
I had like an X-Men moment.
Yeah.
Like when Xavier goes to the astral plane and fights Shadow King kind of thing. It was like, that was this for me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, I kind of get what they're going for.
So I can accept all of that, but when they're fighting and they bust the thing and the helmet just suddenly flies into where Kylo is, like, what? Do you
That
have a
was
fucking
weird.
portal between you? It's not
Right,
even
yeah,
between
that
you.
was-
It's off screen
yeah.
to your left.
Yeah.
And the helmet flies through. Why?
Yeah, and then he's like, she's in my quarters.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I mean, that was like totally just done as an easy plot device so he realizes she's on the ship. Although he could have just said, I sense her presence on my ship. Here I go.
Right.
Could have. It's 5 fucking feet away.
Well,
Oh,
and this goes back to they had a lot to do to make up some of the Rian Johnson stuff, and they had to get through a lot of this stuff that it was like plot device. Like, we need them to fight, but they can't be in the same place. So let's
Yeah.
do it like this. We just kind of need to get through this.
Yeah, thanks, RJ.
And
That
it was
should have been you. This is our oh hi Mark moment.
Thanks,
I'm
RJ.
just going to constantly
In
say
the-
thanks, RJ.
as you're sitting in the theater watching it. It's not terrible. Like, it kind of works. You're like, all
It
right,
works.
now. But right as you think back about it, you're like, okay, yeah, that was sort of convenient plot device. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Poe and Chewie and Finn, they're all captured or whatever, right? And they're about to get shot by a group of stormtroopers, and Hux is overseeing. And then all of a sudden, he's like, "I want to do this myself," and he shoots all the stormtroopers. And
Yeah.
then he says, "I'm the spy." I was like, I did not see that coming, for starters. But
When he took the blaster, I saw it coming.
yeah,
But up until that point, I
I didn't
see
even
it
see it when he took the blaster. I
Yeah.
really thought he was just going to fuck up and they were going to be able to
Because
escape.
it was just the way they filmed it. The way he was like, "I'm going to do this myself," and the way they panned away. As soon as they panned away, I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's the spy. Got it." Good. Sorry.
Anyway, so
we got to move along.
Kylo gets
He's
back.
got to go, and this poor bastard's waiting.
Yeah, Kylo gets back on the ship. He does the reveal that you're Palpatine's granddaughter, right? He knows everything.
that's where I was like, oh crap.
My granddaughter.
Yeah.
Really? Anyway, good.
Hux gets shot in the leg. This was just another complaint of mine. He tells him to shoot him in the leg. And then when they show him later, his leg is bleeding. Like, what did you get shot with? A bullet?
Yeah, right.
I thought it was a laser blast.
Why
Do
did
those-
it
do
either
those
take
make
the leg?
people bleed?
Why did it either take the leg or cauterize right after it goes in?
Anyway, so eventually they escape, of course. Rey and everybody get on the Falcon. She does her super jump, which I have no issue with, by the way. But I saw other people whining about it.
Yeah, it kind of, you know what? It was not as bad as the Leia Poppins thing,
Right.
but it also kind of massaged the Leia Poppins thing for me a little bit. You know, it was like, okay.
They took it to such an extreme. Well,
Easy,
we'll,
Paul.
we'll get there in a second. The Death Star remains. So
I want to massage Leia Poppins.
they head back to the Endorian moon. I don't know if this is actually Endor or just a moon in the Endor system. I was
Okay,
very
well,
unclear
where
on
the
that.
Ewoks are, it's the forest moon of Endor. So
Right.
there's
Yes.
multiple moons of Endor.
Yes. So this is a moon in the
It's
Endor
a moon.
system. I don't think they
It
ever
didn't
actually...
quite look like the forest one.
No, it doesn't.
I thought we were going to see it, which we do, but I thought we were going to see it more.
Yeah,
than this.
I did too.
I really thought that where they were was just going to be another section of that moon, but it wasn't.
So they show us the Death Star here. She has the knife, and this is where she realizes that it's some kind of bizarro puzzle thing. This bothers the fucking shit out of me.
Oh, you too? Okay, good.
Yeah, 2 reasons.
Oh, can I try?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
Because you get the little piece of the dagger that pops out. It's like a compass, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a piece of a battle station that landed on a goddamn moon.
Right.
And it
It
lines
just-
up.
Right.
Really?
Not only that, there was like a raging fucking ocean that's like moving shit, knocking pieces off. Like, so you're telling
Eroding
me
it, right.
for 30 fucking years, those particular pieces that lined up nicely with the knife didn't move an inch.
Right.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never mind the fact that you actually had to have that shit happen in that exact sequence.
Right.
So you knew the Death Star was going to blow up and that part was
And
going
land
to land
just
right
there.
It was so fucking like...
Again,
Yeah, I had a real problem with it.
and this was a completely unnecessary plot device because the inscription could have just said,
I'm lowering my grade.
we kept it on the Death Star
Right.
in the
Right,
throne room
right,
or
right.
something, right? And then she just has to go there and find it. It's really no different, and you don't have to have this extra
It just could have had an
ridiculousness.
X over throne room
Yeah.
with a circle around it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Something, or even a message that
Like
the
that old
Emperor
8th
held
grade
it. I don't know.
internet
but
meme, find the X and
Yeah.
he circles it.
Yeah.
It's here. Yeah. That could have been it. Yeah, it really sucked.
that was,
My grade is
it was
lowering,
really
thank you.
unnecessary. So she gets into the Death Star. Of course, the Wayfinder's in there. She does a brief fight with herself. Once again, I felt like totally unnecessary.
Yeah, that was weird.
She has like a 10-second
She's
fight
got
with her.
she's got a dark
self
vision of,
with
embrace
sharp-
yourself, and then
sharp
she
pointed
becomes
teeth or something.
Gollum from
Yeah.
Lord of
Right,
the Rings.
right.
Or what's his face? The one,
Smeagol.
Yeah.
No, well,
That's right,
Yeah,
Gollum.
yeah, but it was the guy Frodo when he first got the ring, and then he turns bad for a second. That's how she looked.
Yeah.
She kind of had that she changed she
Like,
had little fangs.
Like in Spider-Man 3, the original Tobey Maguire.
Yeah,
When he gets the Venom thing and he's
Yeah.
a little bit badass for a minute.
it's kind of there you go. We got Tobey Maguire Ray. Another band name in college.
Yeah. So she fights her dark ray self.
She farts.
Fights her dark ray
Ooh.
self.
This is becoming a completely different podcast.
Right.
So Kylo.
I mean, I'm all in.
Kylo arrives afterwards. They have a fight, of course. At this moment, I felt like I was watching a Marvel movie. The way that they were like jumping around with the crazy flips and flying, I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
It was a little extreme, but it was what it was, I guess. And so, she's about to get killed actually by the end of this fight. But then Leia somehow knows what's about to happen, and she's like, "Oh, I've got to reach out."
I'm going to reach out to my son the only way I can.
Yeah.
I'm going to force FaceTime him.
Force time.
Yeah.
But that actually sounds really terrible. Force time.
Yeah. I'm going to force call him.
I feel like that's something you find on the dark internet.
Yeah.
There go the last sponsor.
Yeah, so she does now. I want to bring up something else too. Twice in this movie, this is one of them. Maz Kanata knows what's going on with the Force thing. Like she suddenly,
She just stands there and smiles.
yeah. Well, she tells somebody else like, Leia knows what she has to do now. Everybody's like, the fuck?
Yeah, Maz knows way more shit. Can we
Yeah.
get a Maz movie or some shit?
Yeah.
I'm
Because
wondering
I'm
if
still
she
wondering
is-
what the fuck happened with Luke's hand.
I'm wondering
Can
if
you-
she is a Force user or Force
She's
sensitive,
Force sensitive
or
or something, yeah.
But I mean, she knows more than she should. Like she was essentially reading Leia's thoughts or knew what Leia was about to do somehow.
All right, since we're knee deep into this shit with Leia, can we talk about that? While I appreciated the very minimal use of CGI and whatever, and using, it was still jarring. There was it's the same couple of shots of her, she's standing there. You can almost tell she's superimposed there. So which I appreciated the fact that they were trying to respect her and not do some of the shit other
Right.
people complain about. And there's another scene in here that's completely CGI that we'll get to in a second, which I was fine with there. But there was just some by the third time you see her standing there with the same smile on her face, I was like, all right, it's kind of like losing something,
I felt like they had a lot to do with Leia to sort of build up and explain, and then
they couldn't
let her be gone, and you can only do that with this limited amount of footage.
Yeah, and they couldn't do it. So
I give them all the leeway in the world.
No, I do. I'm just saying if we're putting on blast what we're going to put on blast, then that's what I have to say. Like, it didn't.
You noticed it. It stood out to you.
It stood out. So I accepted it because it's Carrie Fisher, for God's sake, and it's her legacy. So I accept it, but it just stood out. Like, maybe we could have tweaked the story a little bit or something to kind of save that. But go ahead.
But so Leia essentially distracts Ben in the middle of the fight. I'm calling him Ben Kylo at this point because he's on his way.
He doesn't know what he's doing, yeah.
But so Ray drives his own saber right into his stomach, almost kills him, I guess.
It was nice.
But wait, there's more. A little bit of an infomercial. But yeah, so she force heals him at the end of that because he's
as soon as she kills him, she saves him.
Starting to turn, yeah.
Yep.
And she says to him, which was a callback to another thing, I wanted to take your hand. Ben's hand, not Kylo. Yeah. So that's where he's making. And then Han shows up. Which
this was my next.
This was
jaw drop.
They made it clear that it was in Kylo's head, though.
Right.
Yes.
Not like a Force ghost or something.
Yeah.
But it's still ridiculous.
And okay, all right, fair enough. I figured he would have the problem with it out of all of us. My thing, then you can roll with it. What they've established with what they do with the Force to this point made it okay to me that in this moment of kind of battling with himself, Ben would make a physical manifestation of his father. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And part of the conversation eased it in where he's like, you're a memory,
Right.
And it's fine, but it works. Yeah. And for me, it was just enough. And like you said, I didn't see that one coming.
Right.
I had heard rumors.
Well, I didn't see it coming
around,
either, but I wish it would have just been.
It coming at all.
I wish it would have just been a voice in his head or something, and not.
I really wish it would have
been there, touch the face. Like, I understand it was in his head, but
I wish it would have been Hayden Christensen as Vader to be like, this is not the path you need. It would have been a little bit better. But for me,
been better.
Knowing the behind-the-scenes shit with the whole Harrison Ford and whatever, to see him up there one more time was like,
cool.
Oh, shit. Okay, that was really cool. That threw me for a loop. All right.
Or they could have made it, anytime it could have been younger. He could have had this vision of younger Ben having a talk with his dad or something that, so you weren't sure, like, is this Force Ghost? Is this in his head? Right? Very clear, like, I'm recalling this conversation that I once had with my dad, where he's like, hey there, kiddo, whatever.
Yeah.
But I still liked it.
So anyway, next couple scenes basically establish that the Star Destroyers, almost all or all, have planet-destroying weapons. Mm-hmm. Even though they are 1/1,000,000th of the size of the Star Destroyer weapon that it took to kill a planet before, now the whole fucking fleet has them. And it only takes, all of 5 seconds of shooting to blow up Kijimi with these things.
Yeah, you would have thought he would have shared that, but okay.
Yeah. So Rey heads back to, I spelled it wrong, but it's Octo, right? Octo. I think it's Octo. The planet where she originally met Luke.
Right.
And this cracked me up because when she meets Luke, he says a Jedi weapon deserves more respect because dude, when she handed you the Jedi weapon, you threw the thing over your shoulder.
You're like, I'm tired of this.
See, that was the dig at RJ,
yeah.
which I actually, I appreciated, and I will be man enough to admit that when she chucks the fucking saber out of anger and you see his hand come out of the fire and catch it and the music hits, I was like, I was like, you got me on that one.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't see it coming and you fucking nailed me. I was like, oh, you son of a bitch. So
Leia's saber is also on Octo. Apparently Luke's been hiding it this whole time because Leia knew something bad was going to happen and she wanted somebody else to take up the saber later and finish the job, I guess. General concept. And then she has no way to get around. Of course, she set Kylo's TIE Whisperer on fire when she got there.
Yep.
burn that thing up. So I don't. It was already fucked up anyway. I'm not sure how she used it, but anyway. So Luke's
Excuse
X-wing
me.
gets risen from the water. It was almost like a scene out of Dagobah when
Yeah,
that X-wing has been in the swamp a couple times.
And again, much like Force Awakens, JJ mirrors little things throughout this movie. We're getting into that, and we really got to push along. Otherwise, you're going to walk out the door here in 2 seconds.
We only have 13
Toward the
minutes.
end,
Okay.
we're going to have there's a big moment there that really mirrors everything. Good.
So back to the Rebel base. C-3PO gets partially restored, which I will just quickly say, that whole thing also felt weirdly unnecessary. Like the red eyes and all the play up they did to that, and all of that was unnecessary. It had nothing to do. It was a total red herring.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ultimately no big deal.
Although it introduced us to Babu Frick, who is awesome.
Yeah, at first I thought he was speaking an alien language, and then I realized he's speaking English, and he just sounds really weird. I felt like Zori was talking back to him, and it was definitely not English she was talking to him in, right?
At first, he was not speaking English. Yeah, it was like,
Oh,
and
okay.
then he sort of.
I thought like I
speaking
just
English,
didn't understand the first few lines, like because he's
No,
it was something
he
else.
was speaking another language, and he started speaking English.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe because everybody else was, he was like, "Oh, okay, I know this. I know this dialect.
So
I will speak basic."
So Rey sends directions to Exegol, to the whole Rebel fleet, right, and tells them basically you got to get over here. Dominique Monaghan again makes a little side comment here that I thought was funny because he says we need to do some holdo maneuvers, like they're going to kamikaze the fleet.
Right.
And the answer he gets is basically no, like, oh, that's 1 in a million, you can't do that. And so I was just trying to kind of get back from why hasn't this been used before? Because you could have wrecked some of it.
Right.
But I guess it's good luck getting that to work. And then Poe gives his speech, which I felt was a little bit lame, but he gives the For the Galaxy for Leia speech. We're going to get everybody together, which of course actually happens. But
Okay, so you guys already went over the part where they ran into Lando, right? While I was getting my
that
drink.
was back on the desert planet.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry.
On
So
Burning Man,
Rey makes it back to Exegol. Yep.
which actually makes a lot of sense for Lando. But good.
And
Yes, it does.
we get another cut real quick to the Sith fleet, and you see the Sith troopers and the fleet troopers, the red armor stuff for I think the first time in the movie, right there.
Yeah.
And again, they're almost pointless. Like, why did you even make those things? I mean, just to make them different, I guess, because they really don't play any part in any of it.
Toys.
Yeah, toys. Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Shit's made for 12-year-olds. We keep talking about this.
So there's a big space battle. They're going after the nav signal. The space horses come out. Again, a little bit
We
ludicrous.
can't get a reading on them.
Yeah.
Or the speeder
Have you
bikes.
watched the Kentucky Derby, you
Right.
motherfuckers?
So we go back anyway after that space battle.
Okay, can we
starts?
at this point? We've seen what the hell is her name? Poe's girlfriend, the
Gold Ranger.
the Gold Ranger,
Zori.
right?
Zori Bliss.
Yeah. Kerry Russell, right?
Yep.
At this point, she's looked at him and like lifted her visor, or
Yep.
is that
Mhm.
later? Holy shit! I keep forgetting how gorgeous this woman's eyes
Oh.
are. Right? I was like, "Yep, you know what? The whole fucking battle just ended right there in that moment." I was like, "Jesus Christ!" I forgot. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. She did. She was on that Americans show. She's pretty.
Yeah, she's
Wow.
wow.
So back
Totally
to,
derailed the podcast that
Yeah.
we have to speed through. Sorry.
we're back on Exegol again. Rey is going into the Sith temple. She eventually meets up with Palpatine on a stick.
On a
And-
steak.
Yeah, on a stick. And he
Mr.
tells,
Jeff Dunham, please don't sue us.
He tells Rey that if she kills him, his spirit and the spirit of all the Sith will basically pass into her body, and that's what he wants. Which is bizarre to me because he didn't want Kylo to kill him. Wouldn't the same thing have happened? How
Right.
could that?
Well, maybe because that's his granddaughter.
Their
so
family.
They're keeping it in the family, and she's more powerful than Kylo. But
Yeah.
this goes back to something I said before this, where I didn't predict her being his granddaughter, although I had heard that in another podcast. I said I thought I read somewhere where he was jumping from body to body. Remember that?
Mhm.
We talked about that. So it kind of, yeah. I guess it kind of fits where some of that was right.
Yeah. So this is where we get to the point where the
I was 5% right.
the physical force link they have actually becomes useful, I guess.
Yeah.
The whole thing
Yeah.
of doing the physical link was really to just
To get to this
build
scene.
up to this moment
Yeah.
where Kylo has to face the Knights of Ren and he has no weapon because he threw his in
He's
the
getting
ocean.
his ass handed to
And
him.
she
too.
happened to bring an extra because Luke told her to take both weapons.
You'll need him.
Yeah. And then she drops, instead of striking down Palpatine like he's
Yep.
expecting, she drops the weapon through the force link behind her back.
And he
it's
gets
not
it,
to
yeah.
the left this time; it's behind the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Now
then he
they
gets
know
it,
where it is.
and he rocks the shit out of the Knights of Ren in like 20 seconds.
Yep.
He just fucking annihilates. So I'm not sure why they were useful to him at all
I
because
don't
they
know.
got wrecked.
Yeah.
Wrecked.
It was a cool scene, though.
It was
He kicked
very
the shit
cool.
out of them.
Yeah. So anyway, Kylo makes it into there. They're both facing him, and then he turns once again. Like, I can't figure out what Sheev's plan is this whole time. Do you want Kylo to kill her? Do you want her to kill you? Or do you want to suck the life force out of both of them? Because that's where he goes next.
Yeah.
And he says this weird line that says, "The power of two restores the one true emperor." Like, was that supposed to imply like the buildup of the rule of two was all just for this moment? So he could.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think maybe his plan was, I'm gonna throw myself into one of you, and I've got both of you, so now I can just restore myself and be done with it.
Yeah, it was really
Or
strange.
some random shit
So
like that.
he apparently tries to suck the life force out of them and is successful, but not quite because they're not actually dead. They're just really weak.
Sure.
I'm not sure what.
And
it
he gets
was.
thrown, and Kylo gets thrown.
Yeah.
Ben.
Oh yeah,
Ben
he gets
now,
thrown
yeah.
down to the
Ben
pit.
now.
Yeah.
He's now Ben.
Yeah,
He
and
gets
so
chuckified.
yep, and then we jump back to the space battle real quick, and they're losing terribly the resistance, and then all of a sudden this.
No, let's use your term. Holy fuck sauce.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's it.
That's a lot of shit.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, when the allies finally come in, they answer the call.
Oh,
I mean,
okay, sorry.
there's like,
I jumped
Yeah.
the gun again.
oh, that's the moment I was like, holy fuck sauce, that's a lot of shit.
Yeah, that was a
So
lot of
we've
people.
seen like I think maybe miniature cuts of that in the previews, but I
Yeah.
did not realize how gigantic. I mean, it's like. Holy shit! It's every ship from every planet
Yeah.
that isn't.
Yeah, and you have
First Order
lots
aligned.
of random, like the Ghost and
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
else that are
There's a
in
lot
there.
of little throwback ones to other shows. They might not be the same ship, but they're the same model at least.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. And at that point, the Empire is screwed, or so it seems. But back on the Sith Temple, we've got Palps has apparently got super force lightning from like 1,000 Sith now, and he
Yeah.
shoots that shit in the air,
Yep.
and he's fucking destroying. Like, dude, did you even need this fleet of 1,000 Star Destroyers? Why don't you just force lightning the whole world and fucking blow everything up already? I
Yep.
mean, you're ridiculous at this point, and you lose somehow. I'm not even sure.
Now it just comes down to like our current politics, where it's just dick waving.
Right.
Yeah.
Look what I got.
So, Rey apparently has the power of all the Jedi at this point, though, and she is able to now block Force lightning with her saber.
Okay. But this is the point, really, where what I was saying earlier, when you see the reveal of the rebels getting shot down by this fleet, whatever, it's exactly a mirror image of Return of the Jedi.
Mm.
Is him talking to Luke.
Yep.
So it's that whole thing there. But yeah,
It
she's
is.
got all the power of all the Jedi.
Yeah, it just suddenly came to her. Now, she's obviously very powerful already at this point, but, I mean, you know, if Mace Windu knew you could block Force lightning with a saber, he would still be
He'd still
alive.
be here.
Somebody should tell him. He's going to be mad, though. I see him saying,
I think he's
"Motherfucker."
alive. I think he's alive.
And then,
Sorry. Ray wants to know if he's okay to come in.
Yeah, we're almost done.
5 minutes.
5 minutes or less, yeah.
Yeah, we're
We'll
trying.
We'll come get him, sorry. So back to the space battle. They blow up the command ship. Poe is going to fly in and somehow pick up Finn and Janna off the falling ship, but instead Lando does it because, I don't know, because they're cool.
Because he can pull that skid to
Yeah.
a parking spot
Uh-huh.
thing.
And so in the Sith Temple, Rey is basically dead or almost dead at this point. I'm not sure if she's quite dead yet, but you know, she's used too much power destroying the Emperor, and she's basically like Baby Yoda, and that she's like fainted out. But I guess she's dying.
Yeah,
So-
she's done.
Ben crawls out of the pit, and apparently he knows the Force heal too. It was just came to
Sure.
him when he turned
It
back
came
to
to
Ben.
him in
I
his
guess.
dream.
Yeah. And so he gives her the Force heal. He seems fine. Although they did establish when Rey did it with the snake that you transfer
lose
some of
some
your own
life.
lives for it.
Yeah.
So if she was nearly dead or dying, I guess maybe when he did it, he became nearly dead or dying.
But he had a hole in him from
Yeah.
his own lightsaber,
Yeah.
lightsaber, and she managed to
Yeah.
heal him, and she seemed fine.
Yeah, that's true. He was dying at that point too.
Yeah.
Yeah, reasons.
Yeah, reasons. Good one. So they have their Ben Ray kiss, which a lot of people wanted to see. I think there's just one moment, and then he dies, which is actually okay with me. There's always a big redemption story arc thing in all Star Wars movies, and for him to basically give his life to bring her back, and then they have that moment, and then he's dead, works perfect for me. I'm fine with that.
That was fine with that.
I think that is the best way they could have dealt with Kylo, honestly.
Yeah, I think they did good.
And then once again, it cuts back to Maz, and she's smiling like she knows what just happened. Like she knows that Kylo just healed Rey somehow, and she gives a little grin. Like
You're gonna find out later that she could have solved this whole fucking thing.
she's like the Jedi version of the Emperor, right?
Yeah.
She has ultimate power.
No, she's
Yeah,
the
she's
Jedi.
the-
She's the Jedi version of a fucking internet troll.
So
Had the answers and said, "Fuck it."
that's mostly it. I mean, we have a few closing scenes. We do get to see
Yeah,
the
some
Ewoks for
celebrations.
about 10 seconds.
Yep.
Because they
You
see
do
the stuff
see
blown up.
Chief Wicket now, I guess, right? Looks like he's in charge.
Yeah, and they give Chewie Han's medal from the... Because if you guys remember, we talked about this a long time ago, but Chewie doesn't get a medal.
Chewie doesn't get a medal.
in
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So
This one
Chewie
seemed
gets...
really forced. Like,
Han's
No, he doesn't get a
medal.
medal in Star Wars, in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Right, that's what he said.
Yeah, he said Return of the Jedi.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, New Hope. But so he gets one
He doesn't
now.
get
He
one there
gets
either.
he
Yeah.
gets Han's medal.
Yeah.
And so I actually kind of like that.
Yeah.
I liked it, but at the same time, it also seemed like very heavy-handed. Like, here, fans.
Yeah, that was
Chewie's
nice.
got his medal.
I mean, it's like, here, puppy, you finally get your master's.
Yeah.
Oh, then we get. Wow.
I'm just
Wow. Lando, come on.
Yeah, the Lando Jaina link, they having a conversation there. I'm not understanding what that was. Are they family?
I
And
thought
he's
Lando-
suggesting-
I thought
there
Lando was
there
being creepy.
Apparently, there was a
or was he
section,
looking for a really young
No,
girlfriend?
there's a
That's what I thought.
There was a section apparently that was part of some of the shooting where he says that his daughter was taken from him by the Empire at a young age, blah blah blah, whatever, which is supposed to be the tie there. But with that taken out,
That got cut?
all you get, yes, that part got cut out.
Oh.
So all you get is him saying, "What about you? Where are you from?" And she says, "I don't know." And then he comes off like a creepy godfather,
Yeah.
going, "Well, let's find out."
Yeah. That's what I was like, dude, Lando just creeped on her.
He fucking totally did. Yeah. So that one scene got cut out and really made Lando.
That would have made
Way
Lando way
worse.
less creepy. If that scene
Oh.
had been in there, Lando would be way less creepy.
Oh my god, yeah. So that's the first thing I heard was like he was supposed to be. There's a scene where he says that his daughter is gone and whatever. So yeah,
Okay.
it's
So
supposed to be his daughter.
yeah, okay. Is that what it is?
All right.
But yeah. Well, in much in Star Wars lore or in the history of Star Wars,
Oh, they might as well have a
they
relationship.
don't know. Yeah, they might as well have a relationship
Until they figure it out.
Yeah. So Lando's totally gonna shtup his daughter.
All right, so
We have matching birthmarks in our pubic areas.
Let me show you where I hung out with Chewbacca.
oh goodness. So
Let me show you why I wore Han's clothes when we went to go get him.
the celebration ensues.
God, Lando's way creepier than.
Rey decides to go back to Tatooine, specifically to the Lars family homestead where it sort of all began. She buries Luke and Leia's sabers there. She apparently built her own.
Mhm.
We get to see in the last second.
Yeah.
A yellow one.
Yeah.
I thought it looked kind of cool,
That's
but
kinda cool.
I'm not sure what the point of that was exactly, other than to have her get rid of the original two sabers
Yeah.
and
To
just
bury the past
yeah,
and to
let,
move
let
forward,
it
which
start
I was
anew.
fine with.
Yeah, this was all very cool.
I was really cool with all of this until rando old bitch from the desert comes walking up and says, "What's your name?"
Yeah.
Well, who the fuck are you?
So
All right, granted, okay, your neighbor comes over and like, I haven't seen nobody here in a while. They're checking on you.
Yeah.
But what's the second thing? She said, Ray. What's your surname?
yeah.
Who the fuck
Yeah.
talks like that? Anyway,
Yeah.
So that
I'm
you
with
see,
Plot device.
It does feel forced. They could have done that at a different moment, but it's nice to have that at the end.
it was
Yeah.
very nice. And the only other awkward moment I had was when the Force ghosts appear, and it's Luke and Leia,
Mhm.
which makes sense because these are her two masters, right? But it kind of also became a nod to the incestual kisses and shit and whatever, because those are her parents now.
Yeah.
So Jesus Christ, we couldn't get away from the incest even now. So, anyway,
And then the whole thing finishes almost where it began. She's walking in the desert, and the rising suns are falling, which is basically where you start A New Hope after the Tantive 4 scene. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool to close.
it was
out
cool.
That way.
It was good. All right. So should we find our own Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's find our array.
All right. Well, that was our. As I log into, somebody close this out.
All right. So tell us what you thought of Rise of Skywalker. Did you like it? What parts stood out? What did you have a problem with? Do you have the same problem with parts that we had? Do you have a problem with different parts? Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at What If Geeks.
What If Geeks?
whatifgeeks@gmail.com. Thank you, Eric, for putting this together, the outline
Very
together.
last minute. Awesome.
Yep.
You are our technological god.
That's right.
Thank you. All right. I guess that's it.
That's it.
Good night, Tony.
Good night, creepy Lando.
Good night, Skywalkers.